How businesses evaluate, direct, and maintain enterprise initiatives like lean, continuous improvement, the triple bottom line, or corporate social responsibility. Well, as with everything in business, if you want it done, assign it to someone and it has to have a deadline. So let me introduce you to Parkinson's Law. Essentially, this says that work will expand to fill the time that's allotted for it. Meaning, if there's no timeline, there won't ever be an ending to it. It will go on forever, stuck in the dreaded loop of deciding, and without a timeline, there's really no hurry to get anything done. And without someone to make decisions, well, then you get a bunch of indecision. You get analysis paralysis. Meetings end without a decision. They end without next steps. So people always end up circling back. I think that's a perfect visual here, that in terms of the circle and circling back, circles never go anywhere. They go on forever and ever in the same dreaded loop, never making progress. Because enterprise initiatives, whether it's lean, triple bottom line, or CSR, they tend to feel huge. A committee is created, and that committee is where initiatives tend to go to die because they can't find consensus. Now, that committee should be able to see all the angles, and that's why we have the committee to begin with. But again, we have to have an owner. You always need one owner, someone who is accountable to ensure the right things get done at the right times. That leads me to the RACI. So I just mentioned the A, the accountable party, the singular decision maker, the owner. But we also have to ask, does this person have the power to direct the people responsible for doing the implementing? So that's the R, responsible. And committees, they can still be beneficial. So I'm not trying to take that away, but they're going to be the C. They are consulted. They provide advice, insight, perspective, or a point of view. But at the end of the day, that one owner, A, still has to make a decision, and they keep others, I, informed. All operations and work have to be done by people. And when implementing programs, we need to consider how this will fit into normal business functions. Do they have the capacity? Do they know how to implement it? Or do you need to hire more people, different people, for capacity or for skills? Because even if they have the capacity, do they have the required skills or knowledge to be able to do what you're asking them to do? And this kind of leads us into this next concept of risk management. So for instance, a risk, falling short because, and now fill in the blank with anything that you can really imagine. But that's important to know about risk. And it's something I see that people get wrong all the time, that a risk is something that could happen or might happen if and when. If we know it's not going to happen, that's not really a risk, it's a certainty, right? If it's currently happening, well, that's an issue, not a risk. A tool many businesses will often use and talk about is actually just ROAM. That's an acronym, again. It stands for resolved, owned, accepted, or mitigated. Resolved means we have it under control. It's really not a risk anymore. It's there, but it's under control. Now, owned means that we can't really resolve it immediately. So we assign it to a specific team or person, and they will continue to monitor this risk. Accepted means that it also can't be mitigated, but we're not stopping. We're just going to take our chances and continue to move forward. And mitigated means that we have a plan, or we are currently working to reduce the probability and or the impact. This really touches on two of the most important aspects of risks, again, that I see people either skip or get wrong. Probability and impact. Your probability, that's the chance that it could occur. And it's important to note, is it 1 in a million, so very unlikely, or is it really a 50-50 chance? That's a huge difference in life and business. But it's also important to know that impact is an important part of this equation, because if we lose $100 versus 100 million on the other end of the spectrum, that really changes the overall equation. So we have to understand both the probability and the impact. And with Rome, it's also important to know that what can we do about it? It might have a high probability and a high potential impact, but only before we mitigate. And if we have this, then we can either reduce the probability or reduce the impact, which ultimately changes the equation. Because a risk could not be worth it if the probability or impact is too high and we're unable to mitigate it. But if we can mitigate it to a low probability, low impact, and we still have a high gain, a reward, then we might go ahead and move forward. So, the bridge, RACI, risk management, it's important to know every single task should be included on the RACI. Who is accountable, who is responsible for completing the risk assessment? Who is responsible and accountable for ensuring that things are mitigated and followed up on? Who makes those decisions and will ultimately say, is the risk worth or not worth doing, not worth pursuing? And again, who gets things done? Who oversees them, plans them, determines them? All of those things need to be on the RACI. So we've talked a lot about planning and preparation, but we need to get into more tactical details. At the end of the day, we're changing things. New work, new expectations, all of it is change. This brings us to change management, the usually overlooked aspect that costs most businesses, and it costs them their success. Because who gets things done? The people. And unfortunately, they're the ones that are often overlooked. We have leaders and committees that come up with brilliant programs and plans, but they don't bring the people along with them, the ones that are actually going to implement it and do the work. So for change management, I always recommend to people that they use ADKAR. ADKAR is the acronym for change management. It stands for an awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and then of course reinforcement. We talk about reinforcement and sustaining a lot. And it's important to know that you have to put yourself into the shoes of the person that's going to experience the change. So if you're the leader, the manager, you're going to be doing this change management program and thinking about this. And it's important for me to stop here and note that we could spend days discussing the intricacies of change management alone, but for the sake of time, we're going to move pretty fast and just gloss over it. But it's important to note this is a non-negotiable. It must be done, and you have to put yourself into the shoes of the people that are being asked to change. Give them an awareness of what they need to do, a desire to support the change, knowledge of how to change, and then we differentiate there because there's a knowledge of what I need to do versus the ability. Now this is training. It's the resources. It's the capacity to do what you're asking. And then we're going to reinforce or sustain the changes with feedback and rewards and encouragement. So when you are considering implementing a new program in your business and within your team, whether it's enterprise-wide or team level, no matter what you're doing, it is important to have a RACI. Define who your decision makers are, who is going to be accountable, who is going to be responsible, who is simply going to be consulted and informed, and then help them through the risks by defining these things and ensure that you're talking about it, that you have seen a Rome done and completed. Have they actually analyzed the risk, the probability, the impact, and then weighed it against everything to know whether or not it's good or bad? And then, of course, we have to do the change management aspect. If you don't understand people and take them into account, then you don't understand business, because our customers are people, our employees and our teams are made of people, and we have to take the human element into consideration with everything we do. So we've briefly talked about how we're going to implement and then sustain business operations and new programs. Stay tuned for more videos. Hit the like button and comment with other questions that you have. I'd be happy to take care of those in the comments. And for more videos, stay tuned.